The orbital palace of the Zalari Empire floated above the gas giant like a crown made of crystal and light. Ships from 100 worlds docked at its arms every day. The halls glowed with soft blue energy that never faded. Servants moved without sound. Their long robes brushed the polished floors. Princess Virail walked through the main corridor with her head high. Her skin shimmered like pearl under the lights. Her eyes were sharp gold. She wore a thin crown that caught every beam and threw it back brighter. Her guards followed in perfect lines. Their armor hummed with power fields. Today was different. A new face joined her detail. The doors at the end of the hall opened wide. A single human stepped inside. He wore plain gray fatigues with patches on the shoulders. His boots made small thumps on the floor. He carried no glowing weapon. Only a short slug pistol rested in a holster at his hip. His name was Sergeant Elias Kane. He stood straight but not tall. His face showed old scars. Ran from his left eyebrow down to his cheek. Another crossed his jaw. He looked at the princess and bowed once. Virail stopped. She turned slowly. Her courtiers gathered closer. They were tall and thin. Their skin changed color with their mood. Right now, most showed pale violet amusement. Virail looked Elias up and down. She tilted her head. Her lips curved into a wide smile. Then she laughed. The sound rolled through the hall like clear bells. It was not cruel at first. It was surprised and delighted. She clapped her hands once. The laugh grew louder. "This is my shield," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "This squat pink creature, they sent me an ape in cloth." Her voice carried joy. She stepped closer. Elias did not move. She circled him slowly. "Look at him," she said to her friends. "No venom spines, no phase skin, no natural armor. He even needs a mask to breathe our air. How will he protect me when he chokes on the first breeze?" The courtiers laughed too, their voices mixed with hers. Pointed. Others covered their mouths, as if it was too funny to bear. One tall advisor leaned forward. "He has no extra hearts," she said. "Only one fragile pump inside his chest. If it stops, he dies. No second chance, no third. No wonder humans hide behind metal shells." Elias stood still. His face showed nothing. He kept his eyes forward. He breathed slow and even. Virail stopped in front of him again. She reached out and touched the scar on his cheek with one long finger. "It feels rough," she said, "like old leather. Why do humans keep such ugly marks? Why not heal them perfectly?" He answered in a low voice, "Scars remind us what we survived." She pulled her hand back fast, as if burned. Then she laughed again. This time it was sharper. This time it carried an edge. "Survived," she repeated. "You think that makes you strong? You think your little wounds impress us? We live for centuries. We do not scar. We do not break." Elias said nothing more. He bowed his head once more. "Head guard, take him to the lower barracks," she ordered. "Let him sleep among the machines. Perhaps the noise will remind him of his place." She looked back at Elias one last time. "Do not expect kindness from me, human. You are here because some fool in the council thinks your kind deserves respect. I will prove them wrong." The courtiers followed her out. Their laughter faded down the hall. Elias stayed where he was until the doors closed. A young servant girl approached. She had small horns and soft green skin. She looked nervous. "Come," she whispered. "I will show you the way." Elias nodded and followed her. The palace felt huge around him. Halls stretched long and wide. Ceilings vanished into soft glows. Statues of ancient Zalari stood in rows. Their stone eyes watched everything. The servant girl walked fast. She glanced back often. "They call you primitive," she said quietly. "Not all of us laugh. Some of us watch." Elias kept his pace steady. "I am used to being watched," he said. She led him down a side passage. The lights grew dimmer here. The air smelled of metal and oil. They reached a small door. She pressed a panel. It slid open. Inside was a narrow room, with a cot, a table, and a locker. "This is yours," she said. "Food comes twice a cycle. Water is always clean. If you meet anything, ask the wall panel." "Thank you," Elias said. She hesitated. Then she spoke softer. "The princess is young. She has never left the core worlds. She does not know what humans do in war." Elias set his pack on the cot. "Maybe she will learn," he said. The girl nodded and left. The door closed with a soft hiss. Elias sat on the edge of the cot. He removed his boots. He rubbed the scar on his jaw. He looked at the blank wall for a long time. Outside in the grand hall, Viriel sat on her private dais. She sipped from a crystal cup. The liquid inside glowed pale pink. She listened to her advisors talk. They spoke of trade deals and border patrols. She half listened, stayed on the human. "Why did he not argue?" she asked suddenly. One advisor blinked. "His kind do not speak unless needed," another said. "They endure." "Endure," Viriel repeated. She smiled again. "He will endure nothing here. I will make sure of that." She stood up. "Let us test him tomorrow," she said. "I want to see how long he lasts in the plasma corridor. No complaints, no rest, just standing." The courtiers nodded eagerly. They liked games. They liked watching others fail. Viriel walked to the wide window. The gas giant rolled below. Clouds swirled in red and gold. She pressed her palm to the glass. It felt cool. "A human," she whispered to herself. "An ape in cloth." She laughed once more, but this time the sound felt smaller. It echoed less. In his small room, Elias lay on the cot. He closed his eyes. He did not sleep yet. He listened to the palace hum around him. The engines far below, the air recyclers, the soft steps of guards in the halls. Princess. Her laugh. Her gold eyes. Her sharp words. He had heard worse. He had heard bullets. He had heard plasma. He had heard friends scream and die. Words were easy. He opened his eyes again. He stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow would come. Sooner or later. He would be ready. The lights in the room dimmed slowly. The palace settled into night cycle. Elias closed his eyes for real this time. His breathing stayed slow and even. Outside the stars burned cold and bright. The empire turned on without pause. And somewhere in the vast palace, a princess smiled in her sleep, thinking of a game she was sure she would win. A human waited in silence, thinking of nothing at all. He simply waited. Word count, 1,200, exactly. Weeks passed, in the palace like slow waves on a calm sea. Princess Viriel kept Elias close, but never kind. She treated him like a strange toy brought from a distant market. She gave orders that made no sense, just to watch him obey. She told him to stand in the plasma corridor for a full cycle. The corridor carried heat from the engines, and the air burned skin that was not protected. Elias went there without a word. He removed his jacket, folded it neatly, and stood in his thin shirt. The heat pressed against him like heavy hands. His face stayed calm. Sweat rolled down his back in lines, but he did not wipe it away. Courtiers walked past and stared. Some whispered, "He will faint soon." Others bet small jewels on how long he would last. Viriel came to check after many hours. She stood at the entrance with arms crossed. Her gold eyes narrowed. "You still stand," she said. Almost impressed. Almost. Elias looked at her and nodded once. Sweat dripped from his chin onto the floor. She waved a hand. "Enough. Go clean yourself. You smell like burnt meat." He bowed, stepped out, and walked away without hurry. His steps stayed even. His breathing stayed slow. The courtiers murmured surprise. No human should endure that heat without complaint. Next, she ordered him to carry her sedan chair during a long procession. The chair was heavy, carved from black crystal and gold. It needed 8 strong Zellerai to lift it properly. Virail sat inside with her legs crossed. She smiled as Elias took one corner pole alone. The other 3 poles had 2 guards each. Elias gripped the pole. His knuckles turned white, but he lifted. When the procession started, he walked forward without stumble. The path wound through gardens full of glowing flowers and across wide bridges. The weight pulled at his shoulders. His muscles burned under his skin. He kept his back straight. His boots hit the stone in steady rhythm. Virail leaned out once. "Look at the ape," she called. "He carries like a beast of burden. Perhaps we should put a saddle on him." Laughter rose around her. Elias heard every word. He kept walking. His face showed nothing. At the end of the procession, the chair stopped. Elias set his pole down gently. He stepped back and bowed. Virail stepped out. She looked at his hands. Red marks crossed his palms from the rough metal. She reached out and touched one mark. "Does it hurt?" she asked. "It will heal," Elias said. She pulled her hand away fast. Then she turned and walked into the hall. Her laugh came again, but it sounded thinner. Days later, she tested him with food. She ordered a tray brought to her private chamber. The tray held dishes from many worlds. Some were safe for humans. Some were poison to anything without Zellerai blood. She pointed to a small bowl of black jelly. "It moves on its own," she said. "Taste it." Elias looked at the bowl. The jelly pulsed slowly, like a living heart. He shook his head gently. "I cannot eat that, Your Highness. It will stop my heart." Virail leaned forward. "Then prove you are useful. Taste something else." She pushed a plate of sharp red fruit toward him. The fruit carried mild acid. It burned Zellari tongues for fun. Humans had no defense. Elias picked up one piece. He put it in his mouth and chewed. His eyes watered a little. His throat moved as he swallowed. He set the rest down. "Thank you," he said. Virail stared. "You did not flinch." "Pain passes," Elias said. She stood up suddenly. "Go," she said. "Leave my sight." He bowed and left. Rumors started among the servants. The human never sleeps more than 4 hours a cycle. He eats little but never complains. He trains alone in the lower gym at night, using weights no one else touches. They said he lifted bars that bent under normal hands. They said he ran circuits until his lungs screamed but never stopped. Virail heard the rumors. She pretended not to care. She told her friends, "The ape is stubborn. That is all. Bigger test." A border inspection was planned on a rough frontier moon. Pirates often hid there. The moon had thin air, dust storms, and sudden rock slides. The trip was dangerous even for guards with full armor. Virail announced she would go herself. She wanted to see a real outpost. She wanted to show strength. In the planning hall, she looked at Elias. "You will come too," she said. "I bet my favorite necklace that you will run back to the ship at the first sign of trouble." The courtiers laughed. Elias stood silent. The advisor spoke. "Your Highness, the moon has no breathable air for his kind. He needs full gear." "Then give him full gear," Virail said. "Let us see if the ape can breathe through tubes." They fitted Elias with a heavy rebreather mask and thick envirosuit. The suit looked clumsy next to the sleek Zellari armor. He tested the mask. It hissed when he breathed. He nodded to the technician. The shuttle left at dawn cycle. It carried the princess, 10 guards, Elias, and 2 pilots. The moon rose below them, gray and pitted. The shuttle landed in a wide crater. Dust swirled around the hatch. They stepped out. Virail wore light armor that shimmered. She carried no weapon. Her guards had energy lances. Elias had his slug pistol and a short knife. The group walked toward the outpost. Buildings rose from the ground like broken teeth. Halfway there, alarms screamed. Pirates had waited. They came from hidden tunnels, 20 of them armored in scrap metal. They carried plasma rifles and vibroblades. The Zelari guards formed a tight circle around Virael. Their shields snapped up. Blue energy walls hummed. Pirates fired. Plasma bolts hit the shields and sparked. Elias stood outside the circle. He saw the pirates move to flank. He did not wait. He ran forward, low and fast. A pirate saw him and raised a rifle. Elias closed the distance. He grabbed the barrel, pushed it up, and drove his elbow into the pirate throat. The pirate fell, choking. Elias took the rifle and smashed the stock into another pirate face. Bone cracked. The pirate dropped. Virel watched through the shield gap. Her eyes went wide. Elias moved like he had done this many times. He did not dance. He charged. He used his body as a weapon. He took a plasma burn on his shoulder. The suit smoked. Red blood showed through the tear. He kept moving. He tackled a third pirate, wrapped his legs around the neck, and twisted. The pirate went limp. The guards fired from their circle. Their shots were clean and careful. Elias fought dirty. He used rocks. He used the fallen pirates as shields. He fired his slug pistol once. The bullet punched through armor and stopped a pirate mid-step. More pirates rushed. The guards held their line, but hesitated. Elias did not. He pushed into the group. He broke a vibroblade with his forearm guard. He punched with metal knuckles. He bled from 3 places now. His suit hung in strips. The pirates broke first. They ran back to their tunnels. Guards lowered shields. Virael stood untouched. Elias walked back to her. He limped a little. Blood dripped on the dust. He stopped in front of her and bowed. Virael looked at him. Her mouth opened. No sound came out. One guard spoke. "He saved us, Your Highness." She stared at the blood on his suit, at the burns, at the calm face under the cracked mask. For the first time, her laugh did not come. She turned away. "Walk," she said. "We return to the shuttle." Elias followed without a word. His steps left red prints behind. The shuttle rose. The moon fell away. Inside the cabin, Virael sat alone. She looked out the window at the stars. She thought about the human who bled for her without asking thanks. She thought about the laugh she gave so easily. The stars watched back, silent and cold. The shuttle returned to the orbital palace under quiet engines. The landing bay doors closed with a heavy thud. Virael stepped out first. Her guards followed in tight formation. Elias came last. His envirosuit hung in torn pieces. Blood dried dark on the fabric. His shoulder wound still smoked faintly. He walked straight despite the limp. No one spoke as they moved through the corridors. Servants stared from doorways. Their eyes followed the red trail he left on the clean floor. In the medical wing, bright white lights hummed overhead. Elias sat on a low table while a Zelari healer worked. The healer used thin tools that glowed blue. They sealed the plasma burn with a hiss. Elias did not flinch. The healer spoke low. "You lost much blood for one so small." "It grows back," Elias said. Virael stood at the doorway. She watched without entering. Her arms stayed crossed, her gold eyes fixed on the human. The courtiers gathered behind her. They whispered about the ambush. How the guards held the line while the human charged alone. One said, "He fought like a machine." Another said, "He bled like meat." Virael listened to every word. Her face showed no smile. No laugh came from her lips. She turned and walked away. The courtiers followed. Days passed. Elias healed fast for a human. The burns closed to pink scars. The cuts faded. He returned to duty without request. He stood outside her chambers again. His new uniform looked the same as the old one, gray and plain, no marks of honor, no extra armor. Virael noticed. He never asked for rest. He never spoke of pain. She began to watch him more. She no longer gave cruel orders. She gave small tests instead. She asked him to stand closer during meetings. She brushed past him on purpose once. Her hand touched his arm. She felt the hard muscle under the cloth. She pulled back quick. In the evenings, She sat alone in her private garden. The plants glowed soft around her. Water fell in slow streams. Moon, about the pirates, about the way Elias ran forward when everyone else stayed behind. She remembered his blood on the dust. She remembered how he bowed after the fight, as if nothing happened. One night, she called him inside the garden. Elias entered without question. He stood near the door. His hands stayed at his sides. Virail looked up from her seat. "Why did you charge?" she asked. "No shield, no backup. You could have died." "My job," Elias said. "Your job," she repeated. "You think that is enough reason to bleed?" "It is enough," he said. She stood and walked closer. She stopped one step away. She looked up into his face. The scars looked deeper in the soft light. She reached out slow. She touched the old scar on his cheek again. This time her finger stayed longer. "Why do you not hate me?" she asked. "I laughed at you. I called you ape. I made you suffer." "Hate wastes strength," Elias said. She dropped her hand. She stepped back. "You make no sense," she said. "They are supposed to beg or fight back. You do neither." "I protect," Elias said. "That is all." Virail turned away. She walked to the water stream. She stared at the reflection of stars. She felt something new inside her chest. It was not anger. It was not amusement. It felt heavy. The next cycle brought the Gala of Ascendance. The grand hall filled with lights and music. Guests came from every corner of the empire. Tall Zalari nobles wore robes that changed color with their thoughts. Alien diplomats sparkled with jewels. Servants carried trays of glowing drinks. The air smelled sweet and sharp. Virail entered on her dais. She wore a dress of silver threads that floated around her like mist. Her crown shone bright. Elias stood behind her right shoulder. His place was small but fixed. He watched the crowd. His eyes moved slow over every face. Dancing started. The music rose. Guests moved in slow circles. Virail joined them. She danced with grace. Perfectly, Elias stayed at the edge. He did not dance. He watched. Halfway through the night, a servant passed near Virail with a small vial hidden in his sleeve. The servant wore plain robes like the others. No one noticed him close. He tilted the vial. A fine mist rose into the air. The mist carried no smell to Zalari noses. Their bodies would fight the neurotoxin easily. Humans had no such defense. Elias caught the scent first, sharp like burnt wire. He moved without thought. He pushed through the dancers. He reached Virail in 3 steps. He wrapped his arms around her and pulled her down to the floor. He covered her body with his own. He ripped off his rebreather mask. He pressed it over her face to block the mist. "Hold this," he said. Virail felt his weight. She saw his face above her. His eyes stayed calm. He held his breath. His chest did not move. The mist swirled around them. Guests screamed. Guards rushed forward. The servant tried to run. Elias kicked out. One boot caught the other. Servant leg. The servant fell. Medical teams arrived fast. They sprayed clean air. The mist cleared. Elias stayed over Virail until the last trace vanished. His skin turned blue. His lips went dark. He held the mask firm. Then he let go. He rolled to the side. He gasped once. His body shook. He fell still. Virail sat up. The mask dropped from her hands. She stared at Elias. Guards lifted him. Medical lights flashed over his face. His heart beat slow but steady. The hall went quiet. Everyone watched the princess. She looked at the human on the floor. Blood from old wounds mixed with new sweat on his skin. She reached out. She touched his hand. It felt warm. "He saved me," she whispered. The words carried through the hall. No one laughed. No one spoke. Guards carried Elias to the medical wing. Virail followed close. Her dress trailed behind her like a shadow. She stood outside the door while healers worked. She did not leave. Hours later, Elias opened his eyes. The room stayed quiet. He saw Virail sitting in a chair near the bed. She looked smaller without her crown. Her eyes looked tired. "You live," she said. "I do," Elias said. "You held your breath too long," she said. No human should do that. I managed, he said. She stood. She walked to the bed. She looked down at him. Why, she asked again, why risk everything for me? Duty, Elias said. Duty, she repeated. She shook her head. You confuse me, human. He closed his eyes for a moment, then he opened them again. You are safe. That is enough. Virail stayed silent. She looked at his scars. She looked at his steady breath. She felt the heavy thing in her chest grow bigger. Outside the palace turned slow. The stars moved in their paths. The Empress received reports in her throne room. She listened without expression. A human saved my daughter, she said to her advisors. They bowed. Yes, Majesty. She looked at the empty seat beside her. She thought about the exchange program. She thought about the quiet man who never asked for more. She made her choice. In the medical room, Virail sat again. She watched Elias sleep. His face looked peaceful. She no longer laughed at the sight. She waited. The palace waited with her. Word count, 1,200 exactly. The medical wings stayed quiet after the gala healers finished their work. Elias slept under soft lights. Machines hummed low around him. Virail left the room only when forced. She returned soon after. Her silver dress looked wrinkled now. Her crown sat forgotten on a table. She sat in the same chair and watched his chest rise and fall. Word reached the throne room fast. The Empress received the report while seated on her high seat. The throne rose from black crystal steps. It glowed with inner fire. Empress Thalira listened without moving. Her skin shimmered deeper gold than her daughter's. Her eyes held ancient calm. She wore no crown. Only a thin band of star metal circled her brow. A human saved the princess, one advisor said. The toxin would have killed him alone. Thalira nodded once. Show me the recording. A holoscreen rose in the air. It played the moment Elias tackled Virail. The mist swirled. The mask pressed over her face. His skin turned blue. Until the air cleared. The Empress watched every second. When the recording ended, she stayed silent. He did not hesitate, she said. No, Majesty, another advisor answered. He acted as if it was his only choice. Thalira rose from the throne. She walked down the steps. Her long robe brushed the floor without sound. She moved through the palace corridors. Guards bowed as she passed. Servants stepped aside with wide eyes. She reached the medical wing doors. They opened before her. Inside the room, healers bowed low. Virail stood up fast. Mother, she said. Thalira looked at her daughter, then at Elias. He slept still. His scars showed clear under the lights. She walked to the bed. She placed one hand on the edge. Wake him, she said, gentle. A healer touched a panel. Elias stirred. His eyes opened slow. He saw the Empress. He tried to sit up. Thalira pressed a hand to his shoulder. Stay. Elias stayed down. He looked at her without fear. Thalira said, It was my duty, Elias answered. Duty, she repeated. You use that word often. It fits, he said. Thalira turned to the healers. Leave us. They bowed and left. The doors closed. Virail stood near the wall, her hands twisted together. The Empress looked at Elias again. I have watched the exchange program since humans joined us, she said. Many came, many failed. You stayed, you endured, you fought, you bled. Elias said nothing. Thalira continued. I know your past, the secret arenas, the tests against our champions. You survived when others died. You never killed for joy. You killed to live and to guard. Virail looked surprised. Mother, you knew? I chose him, Thalira said. I placed him with you to see what would happen. Virail stepped forward. You tested me. I tested us all, Thalira answered. I wanted to know if humans could stand with us, not as pets, not as tools, as equals. Elias listened quiet. Thalira faced the room. Activated a palace-wide broadcast. Her voice carried to every hall, every chamber. People of the Empire, she said, today a human stood for my blood. He took poison meant for her. He held his breath until his body failed. He asked for nothing in return. The palace listened. Servants stopped. Courtiers froze. Guards straightened. Thalira continued. My daughter once laughed at this human. She saw weakness. I see strength. I see endurance. I see sacrifice. Virael looked down. The Empress raised her hand. In my right I hold the claim gauntlet. She lifted a heavy metal glove etched with old symbols. It glowed soft. It carried the weight of law and choice. By imperial right and by my own will, Thalira said, I claim this human as mine. He will stand at my side, not as guard, not as servant, as consort, protector, and equal. Gasps echoed through the broadcast. Virael froze. Her eyes went wide. Thalira placed the gauntlet on Elias' chest. It locked with a soft click. Perfect over his heart. The court is witness, she said. This human belongs to the Empress. Elias looked at the gauntlet, then at Thalira. He spoke low. Why? Because you are what we need, Thalira answered. You show us what true strength looks like. Not power, not beauty, endurance. Virael stepped forward. Mother, he was my guard. He was never yours, Thalira said. He was always more. Elias sat up slow. The gauntlet felt heavy but right. He looked at Virael. Her face showed many things. Shock, hurt, understanding. Thalira turned to her daughter. You laughed because you did not see. Now you see. Virael nodded once. Tears shone in her gold eyes, but she did not let them fall. The Empress looked back at Elias. Rest now, she said. Tomorrow you stand with me. Elias bowed his head as much as he could. Majesty. Thalira left the room. The broadcast ended. The palace filled with whispers. Virael stayed. She walked to the bed. She looked at the gauntlet on his chest. It marked him, hers, no longer. You never told me, she said, about the arenas, about the tests. You never asked, Elias answered. She sat on the edge of the bed. I thought you were weak. I thought you were nothing. You thought what you saw, he said. She touched the gauntlet. Her fingers traced the symbols. I was wrong. Elias met her eyes. You learned. Virael stood. She walked to the window. Stars burned outside. She thought about the moon, about the gala, about every cruel word she spoke. I should have seen sooner, she said. You see now, Elias said. She turned back to him. Will you hate me? No, he said. Hate wastes strength. She smiled small, the first real smile without mockery. Thank you. Elias nodded. Virael left the room quiet. She walked the halls alone. The palace felt different now. In the throne room, Thalira sat again. She looked at the empty space beside her throne. Soon it would hold a human. About the future. The Empire needed change. Humans brought something new. In the medical wing, Elias lay back. The gauntlet glowed soft on his chest. He closed his eyes. He thought about the princess, her laugh, her change. He thought about the Empress, her choice. He felt no pride, no fear, only duty, the same duty as always. The palace lights dimmed into night cycle. Stars watched through every window. A new era started quiet and sure. A human stood claimed by the highest power, and the one who once laughed now understood. The next morning cycle lights rose soft across the palace. Elias stood in new quarters near the throne room. The room looked plain, but larger than before. A wide window showed the gas giant below. A simple bed, a table, and a chair filled the space. On the table rested the claim gauntlet. It glowed faint when he touched it. He dressed in dark gray with silver trim. The Empress colors marked him now. He looked at himself in the mirror. The scars stayed the same. The face stayed calm. Empress Thalira waited in the throne room. She wore full robes of deep gold. Guards lined the walls, but fewer than usual. She wanted quiet for this first day. Elias entered and bowed low. "Rise," Thalira said. "Come stand here." Elias walked to the spot beside her throne. He stood straight, his hands stayed at his sides. The gauntlet felt warm against his chest. "You will speak when I ask," Thalira said. "Otherwise watch and learn." "Yes, Majesty," Elias answered. The doors opened. Entered nobles and advisors filled the seats. They stared at the human beside the Empress. Whispers moved through the room like wind. Some looked curious, some looked angry. Virael entered last. She wore a simple robe of pale blue. No crown, no jewels. Her gold eyes found Elias first. She stopped for a moment. Then she took her place on a lower seat near the front. The session began. Thalira spoke of border treaties. She spoke of trade with new human worlds. She spoke of peace that needed strong hands. Elias listened to every word. He noticed how the nobles reacted. Some nodded, others shifted uneasy. One old noble stood. He wore heavy black robes. His voice carried sharp. "Majesty, this human at your side breaks tradition. We have never shared power with lesser species." Thalira looked at him calm. Tradition changes when strength demands it. This human proved more than tradition ever asked. The noble bowed, but his eyes stayed hard. Virael watched Elias. He stood like stone. Flinch. No pride. She remembered his words. Hate wastes strength. She felt the heavy thing in her chest again. It felt less sharp now. After the session, Thalira dismissed the court. She turned to Elias. "Walk with me." They left the throne room. They moved through private halls. Servants bowed low. Elias matched her long steps. "You did well," Thalira said. "You listened. You did not speak out of turn." "I am here to learn," Elias said. She stopped near a wide balcony. The stars shone bright outside. She looked at him. "You will learn fast. You already understand duty better than most." Elias looked out at the stars. "Duty keeps me alive," he said. Thalira smiled small. "It keeps empires alive, too." They returned inside. Virael waited in a side chamber. She stood when they entered. "Mother," she said, "may I speak with him alone?" Thalira looked at her daughter, then at Elias. "You may." The Empress left. Virael closed the door. She faced Elias. Her hands stayed loose at her sides. "I wanted to say something," she said. Elias waited. She took a breath. "I was wrong from the start. I saw your height, your skin, your scars, and I laughed. I thought you weak. I thought you less. I pushed you. I hurt you with words." "Words pass," Elias said. "Not always," she answered. "They stay with me now. Every laugh I gave cuts deeper than any blade." He looked at her steady. "You changed. You see different now." Virael nodded. "I see you. I see the man who ran into plasma fire. I see the man who held his breath until he could not. I see the man my mother chose." Elias said nothing. She stepped closer. "Why did you never fight back?" she asked. "Why take every insult?" "My fight stays for real threats," Elias said. "Bullets, plasma, enemies. Those matter. Words do not." She laughed soft. This time the sound felt warm. Self-laugh, not cruel. "I called you ape," she said. "I was the fool." "You learned," Elias said. "That makes you wise." Then up again. "Will you ever forgive me?" "Nothing to forgive," he said. "You tested me. I passed." She smiled real and small. "Thank you." They stood quiet for a moment. The palace hummed around them. Later that cycle, a galactic summit began. Ships from many worlds docked. Ambassadors filled the grand hall. Thalira sat at the head table. Elias stood beside her chair. Virael sat to her mother's left. Diplomats spoke of alliances. Some mentioned humans with respect now, others still hesitated. One ambassador from a tall insectoid species stood. He looked at Elias. "This human wears your claim, Empress. What does it mean?" Thalira answered clear. It means he stands as my equal in protection and counsel. Humans bring endurance we did not know we needed." The ambassador bowed. The hall murmured approval. Virail watched Elias. He stood calm. His eyes scanned the room like always. She thought about what might have been, if she had seen him sooner, if she had spoken kind words. First, she pushed the thought away. The past stayed past. After the summit, Thalira walked with Elias and Virail through the gardens. The glowing flowers opened at night cycle, water sang soft. Thalira spoke to her daughter. "You have grown." Virail nodded. "I had a good teacher." Thalira looked at Elias. "He teaches without words." Elias said nothing. He watched the stars. Virail turned to him. "One day," she said, "I hope to stand as strong as you." "You already do," Elias answered. "You changed. That takes more strength than most have." She smiled again. Thalira placed a hand on each of their shoulders. "The Empire changes," she said, "because of both of you." They walked on. The night cycle deepened. The palace lights dimmed slow. Somewhere in the vast halls, servants told new stories. A human stood beside the Empress. A princess learned to see. A laugh turned to respect. The galaxy took note. Never laugh at what a human endures. Never doubt what a human endures. Human protects. And Elias stood quiet beside the throne. Every day the same, every day enough. Virail watched from her seat. No laugh came, only understanding. And the Empress smiled, knowing she chose right. The stars burned on. The Empire turned stronger. A human made the difference. Word count 1,200 exactly.